You didn't become this way by accident. You became this way because you had to. There was a moment, or maybe many small moments, when something inside you learned that being exactly who you were was not enough to make it through. Not enough to be understood. Not enough to be safe. Not enough to be at ease. So you adjusted. Quietly. Almost without noticing. You didn't wake up one day and decide to change yourself. You responded. You adapted. You learned what worked. You learned when to speak and when to stay silent. You learned how much of yourself could be shown without consequences. You learned which feelings were welcome and which ones caused distance. You softened here. You hardened there. You held things in. You stayed composed. And it worked. It helped you get through days that were heavier than they looked from the outside. It helped you function when stopping was not an option. It helped you stay upright when something inside you wanted to fold. So you kept doing it. Not consciously. Not dramatically. Just a little bit every day. And over time, those adjustments didn't feel like strategies anymore. They started to feel like personality. Like character. Like this is just how I am. But this version of you was not created for freedom. It was created for survival. And that matters. Because survival selves are very good at one thing. They keep you going. They are disciplined. Alert. Controlled. Capable. But they are also always slightly tense. Always scanning. Always ready. You may not think about this every day. But your body remembers. In how quickly irritation rises. In how certain situations still feel heavier than they should. In how rest never feels fully restful. There is a quiet weight you carry that doesn't have a clear name. It's not always sadness. It's not always anger. It's something older. Something that formed when you realized you couldn't fully relax into being yourself and still be okay. So you learned to shape yourself. Every day. Not in big dramatic ways. But in small, reasonable ones. You lowered expectations. You managed reactions. You swallowed words. You stayed composed. You told yourself it was fine. That it wasn't worth it. That you were overreacting. And slowly, something settled inside you. Not rage. Not grief. Resentment. Quiet resentment. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that simply remembers. Resentment is not bitterness. It's memory. It's the part of you that says, I won't let that happen again. It's what forms when pain was real but never fully acknowledged. When something mattered, but you had to move on anyway. So the feeling didn't leave. It just went underground. And underground feelings don't disappear. They shape. They shape how close you allow people to get. They shape how much effort you're willing to give. They shape how much softness you permit yourself. Not because you're holding a grudge, but because you learned something. You learned that being open had a cost. You learned that trusting fully once came with consequences. So you became careful. This carefulness isn't a flaw. It's intelligence born from experience. But over time, it can harden into an identity. At some point, the self you built to get by stops being a temporary structure. It becomes the house you live in. And you forget it was ever meant to be provisional. Carl Jung went through a period like this in his own life. A time when the identity he had built, the role that had made him successful and respected, could no longer hold what his inner world was asking of him. From the outside, it looked like a breakdown. But Jung understood it differently. He saw it as the psyche withdrawing energy from an old structure that had done its job. Not because it was wrong, but because it was no longer enough. The self that helps you function is not always the self that helps you become whole. And when that tension appears, something inside you begins to question quietly. Is this still who I need to be? You may feel this question as restlessness, as fatigue, as a subtle irritation with life itself. Not because life is wrong, but because the role you're playing is tired. Resentment often shows up here, not as anger toward others, but as a dull heaviness inside yourself. A sense of carrying something that should have been put down long ago. But here's the thing that almost no one tells you. You don't let go of resentment by deciding to. You let go of resentment when it is no longer needed. And it is only needed when the old danger still feels present. If your nervous system believes you are still at risk, it will not release its guard. No matter how much you tell yourself you should be over it. This is why forcing forgiveness never works. Why positive thinking feels hollow. Because the part of you that learned to protect is still convinced it's doing its job. That part doesn't need to be eliminated. It needs to be understood. It needs to hear that the situation has changed. That you have more choice now. More ground beneath your feet. But this recognition doesn't come through words. It comes through experience. Through moments where you respond differently. Where you don't tighten automatically. Where you pause instead of brace. Small moments. Subtle shifts. And this is important. Letting go is not an event. It's a loosening. A gradual softening of a grip you didn't even realize you were holding. If this reflection is resonating with something inside you, take a moment. Tap the like button so this message reaches someone else who may need it. Then come back. We're not done. The self you built to get by is not wrong. It was necessary. But it was shaped by circumstances that may no longer exist. And if you don't question it gently, it will continue to run your life long after its job is done. Not loudly, quietly. In your reactions, in your boundaries, in how much joy you allow yourself to feel without bracing for loss. You may notice that even good things feel slightly unsafe. That ease feels unfamiliar. This is not because something bad is coming. It's because ease was never part of the environment where this self was formed. So ease feels suspicious. But that doesn't mean you can't learn it. It means your system needs time. Time to experience safety without vigilance. Time to experience connection without cost. Time to experience rest without collapse. This is how the old self slowly steps back. Not by being pushed, but by being relieved. And resentment softens in the same way. Not because you forgive the past, but because you no longer need to protect yourself from it. The memory stays. The charge dissolves. And one day, you realize you're responding from choice instead of reflex. You speak when you want to. You rest when you need to. You soften without immediately scanning for danger. This doesn't make you naive. It makes you present. And presence is the opposite of resentment. Resentment lives in a time that has already passed. Presence lives here. You don't need to erase what happened to be free of it. You only need to stop living as if it's still happening. The self you built to get by did exactly what it was meant to do. It carried you through. But you don't have to live there forever. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that survived. You are allowed to discover who you are without the constant need to manage. And this doesn't happen all at once. It happens quietly. In moments where you don't tense. In moments where you don't explain yourself. In moments where you let something be unfinished. That's how the weight leaves. Not dramatically, but honestly. If you're new here, welcome. Stay with me for a moment. This space is for slow understanding. Not fixing. Not forcing. And if this reflection helped you see yourself with a little more compassion, subscribe if you'd like to continue this journey together. Thank you for being here with me. Take care of your heart. And may love always guide your path.